Hi, I'm Ruth Streveler. I'm the chair of the graduate program at Purdue University School of Engineering Education. And this is a slide set we recorded on October 30th for our open house for the graduate program. It talks a little bit about the application process, how to do a successful application. So we hope they're helpful. Thanks.
This is the application process and beyond. So this morning, Dr. Radcliffe talked about figuring out if ENE is the right place for you. And we're going to say now, well, let's say if you do think it is, what is the next step? So I want to talk a little bit about the general process, knowing that later you can follow up with both Tammy and I with specific questions you might have as you're filling out the application. But I wanted to be sure you knew how this works, what are the tips for it, what's funding like. So this is part of our School of Engineering Education open house for the graduate program on October 30th, and this is applicable for fall 2015 admission. Currently, the application for our program is for fall only. We have designed the program to have a kind of a yearly cohort of people that work together and work very closely. We've sequenced the courses so that they work best if you take some in the fall and some in the spring. And the application deadline for this coming fall admission is December 15th. This means that all the things that you are responsible for should be uploaded to the online system by December 15th. There may be some things that you aren't responsible for, like letters of recommendation or test scores, that come later. And that's fine. We're not going to hold you to being sure that all your letters are in by then. But your part of the application should be done. Right now we have direct admission to the PhD program only. We do also have a master's program, but we don't admit people directly to the master's program. And I can speak a little bit later about that, offline about that. And the program is designed to be residential. So we don't have actually an online component. There are ways to participate in parts of the program if you're not physically in West Lafayette, Indiana, but there isn't a strictly online program. And again, I can talk a little bit more about that. Because we are housed in the College of Engineering, not in a College of Education like some other programs might be, we do expect there to be some graduate coursework in technical engineering. Sometimes students ask us, what's the difference between this and other programs that might be in the College of Education at other institutions? One of the things is that, yes, this is an engineering, and we expect people to be able to do some graduate level coursework. This does not mean that you need to have an engineering degree. Most of our students do, but you don't. That's not a requirement. You just need to be able to demonstrate that you could do graduate level technical coursework. So the next thing is a little bit about what the application itself looks like. Some things that kind of tips into how to look at these different pieces. So there's a cover sheet that you fill in indicating some basics about yourself, your address, those types of things. One of the things that you can put on the cover sheet are faculty you may be interested in working with. And I would encourage you to do that. Even though, as we said, you don't need to choose right now, but I think if you have a sense of what your area might be, who you might want to work with, that's a plus for you later as we're evaluating. We get a sense of you've looked at the faculty, you have a sense of how you might fit. Those are people then that would particularly look at your application and say, oh yes, I might like to work with that person. So that's not required that you do that. I wouldn't stress about that, having the right person, or you could have a group of people you might want to work with, but I would recommend you do that. Then there are essays, and there's some about your career goals, a research statement, and a teaching statement. And those are very, very important. We use them extensively in making our admission decisions. So write them carefully, write them correctly. which means you probably want to go through a variety of iterations of those, as you would anything you want to write well. Have other people look at it. Be sure that you're telling us how wonderful you are. It's often hard to talk about ourselves because we know ourselves. There's many assumptions we make. So run things by people and be very careful about that. There are letters of recommendation that need to be submitted, and it is best if those are people that speak to your success both as a PhD student and, if you can, a PhD student in engineering education. So these usually are folks that know you as an academic and or professional and can speak to things like your motivation, your ability to do research, other kinds of things which later when I talk about what we look for in a successful applicant, you can begin to see the types of things that people should address. Letters of recommendation, again, can help you and they can hurt you. So find people that can speak well about you. It is perfectly acceptable not just to say, could you write me a letter of recommendation, but do you think you could write me a good letter of recommendation to be a PhD student in engineering education? And if somebody says, well, I don't really know what that is, or I don't know what that means, or then you can say, okay, thank you. It's fine to be upfront about that. It's fine to let your recommenders know the kinds of things you might want them to include. So if you say, I really would like you to speak to my ability to do this particular research project, or follow through on this, or my work in the community, or my passion for this subject, it is perfectly, it's not only is it fine, it's very wise to do that. There is a resume or CV, and just as with anything that you're applying for, realize that you would want to tailor your resume or CV to the position you're applying for. So sometimes we will get CVs where someone has said, I would like a technical job with the aeronautics industry. It's like, oh, well, that's maybe not the best CV version to put with an application to grad school. Then you have transcripts from your past work. You can upload copies of transcripts directly into the application, and most people do that because it's very time-saving device. However, later, in order to admit you, we need the actual transcript sent from your institution to us. So what people often will do is they'll go ahead and they'll make copies of their transcripts, they'll put it in their application by December 15th, that's fine, and then quickly after that, mail the application directly to Tammy, and she can tell you about the address to use. And then you will also want to have current test scores of the GRE and the TOEFL if that is applicable. So a little bit about the admission process. It's December 15th, your application is up. It usually takes a few weeks before your letters of recommendation come in, things like that. Right around January 12th or something, the graduate committee will meet for the first time and begin to review applications. And then we spend about the next month, 6 weeks, just doing nothing but going through applications. So we review them first. We kind of get a sense of which applicants are really promising, which are really not promising, and which are in the middle. And then we bring all the applications, particularly the ones that we think are promising or that we have questions about, we bring them to the faculty as a whole. And we say, who might you want to work with? And then the faculty have a voice and say, oh, well, I'd really like this student, or no, this student doesn't fit with anybody. And it is after we have brought that to the faculty as a whole that we make the actual recommendations for admission. That will happen maybe late February, maybe mid-February. And what we will do then is we recommend to the graduate school that you either be admitted or not. And you will get an email from us at that time telling you what that recommendation was. Then the graduate school reviews it, and they make the actual admission decision. Usually, if everything's fine, they have no questions, and once we recommend it, you're admitted. The thing that they do look for are your transcripts there. They really want to be sure that if you say you have a degree from X, that you actually do. And that's where it becomes important that we have your original transcripts. We cannot use copies at that point. And the graduate school sends you the official notice. We kind of simultaneously begin to make funding decisions. And so you will get an admission letter first, and then a funding letter separate. The general timeline for decisions is the earliest would be February, absolute latest is April. There is an agreement among graduate schools that no student will be required to make a decision to say yes or no before April 15th. So that there shouldn't be schools that are pressuring you with offers to make early decisions so that you can't make decisions about other places. So by April 15th, you should let us know if you accept. Now, I've talked about your essays being really important, so let me say a bit about what those would look like. As I mentioned before, they should be written clearly and they should be correct. There have been people who maybe could be fabulous, but did not write well and correctly, who we did not admit. As probably the grad students have been telling you, there's lots of reading and writing in this program, and so we feel, we want to be able to see somebody's best writing. So really be careful about that. You also should be clear about why your experience and your future goals fit with this program. And learn about the kind of research that faculty members are engaged in, contact them. You do not, as I told some people today, you do not have to say in your application, my research question for my dissertation will be da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Actually, if you said that, we'd probably say, oh yeah, let's see, because people's questions morph and change, and we don't expect that. But it is useful for us to know you've really thought about this, you have a sense of what your direction might be, or a couple directions you're considering, who you might work with there, so that you really have a sense of you've thought about it clearly, you know you're a good fit, you're articulating that to us, there are people here to work with that could provide the resources that you would need to complete that degree. It's definitely okay to contact faculty you're interested in working with. Not only is it okay, again, it's highly recommended, and it's okay to contact their graduate students as well. What's life really like with person X? I think probably they've, maybe in a guarded way, been trying to tell you that, but find people whose interest is similar to yours and whose work style is similar to yours. And one thing that's really important, and David Radcliffe spoke about it this morning, remember the PhD is a research degree, so communicate the research you are interested in. A couple more things. The attributes of successful candidates. If your past success and your interest are shown for both the technical and the education side of engineering education. So can you say, yes, I have technical expertise and interest, I was successful in this, and yes, I have interest in the education side. I've done X, Y, and Z. Perhaps you've done a little research, perhaps you've done some papers, perhaps you've attended some conferences. So you're showing that, yes, I have success and I have interest in both those sides. Again, we've found some people that were like, we've had applicants that were amazingly talented technically, didn't really show any interest in the education side, and we said, I don't think this person is a good fit. Likewise, we've had people who were just amazing educational researchers that perhaps had in their background very little math or science, or very low level, and poor grades in that, and we said, no, I don't think that's going to work here. And then it's also important to learn about the kind of research faculty do here. Again, contacting them. It's also important, and I don't think for any of you here this will be a problem, but it's important that you show us that you display the motivation and persistence needed to complete a PhD. So you follow through on things, you're stable, you've got this figured out. We know a PhD is hard. Again, we've had some applicants that look amazing, but maybe their life is too unsettled. They don't have a track record of stability, and we're just not knowing if this person's going to stick out the 3 or 4 or 5 hard years of work. And then the final thing is that all aspects of the application tell a consistent story. So your transcripts, your CV, your letters of recommendation, your test scores, your essays. So different types of funding. The majority of our students have research assistantships. There are some that are also teaching assistants, sometimes with first-year engineering courses, sometimes with other engineering courses. This year, for example, in this year's cohort, I believe there is only one student that is a TA. There are also fellowships available. Some are through Purdue, and sometimes there are outside fellowships. There are students who are funded. Maybe they come from another country. There's a student from Columbia that's funded by Columbian Scholarship Fellowship, so those are possible as well. And there are a few students that self-fund. Usually there's a very good reason for self-funding, like they are a full-time employee here and can't get money from Purdue to go to school. There are a few students who just, for various reasons, choose to self-fund, but those are the exception. We have had very, very good success with seeing that our students, unless they chose to self-fund, that they had support throughout the years that they were here. So we've had very, very good success. I don't know of a case where that hasn't happened. We do make the admission decision separately from the funding decision, but again, usually those two go together, and that if you come here, you will usually be funded. Tammy and I are here to help you through the process, as you will have some questions pop up. So don't think that, oh no, part of the process of applying is seeing if I could figure all these cryptic things out without having any help or anybody looking at anything. Or, no. We're a very collaborative, supportive place.
Thanks for watching this. If you have any questions, please let us know.